We as Gen Z are actually taking shit content. To be honest, we're consuming really bad content.
Everyone I used to meet, they used to be like, यार इंडिया में 140 करोड़ लोग हैं, हम ये प्रोडक्ट बनाएंगे, 140 करोड़ लोगों को बेचेंगे. Probably 50-60 crore people in India are below poverty line. वो तो पाली जी भी नहीं खरीद सकते. That clarity you need to have when you're starting up as an entrepreneur. I'm not meant to be a woodcutter. I would rather be the guy making axes and supplying to these woodcutters. So I realized that, maybe I have a very B2B mindset. And while everybody thinks कि brand to B2C में बनता है, ऐसा नहीं है. I mean, B2B में भी brand बनता है. While all of us call it B2B, I call it H2H. It's human to human. It's not business to business. Brand बनाना है ना तो you should party with the classes and sell to the masses. What all of us neglect as startups is we neglect.
If a 17-year-old came up to you and said that I want to drop out and I want to be an entrepreneur, what would you say?
I mean, with due respect to the Indian education system, but I think it needs a lot of changes. I don't think whatever we study in college or in school has really helped us in our practical real life.
I was really eager to meet you because something that I really loved about your journey is that you've dropped out on engineering.
I dropped out of engineering, I dropped out of IIM Calcutta. I dropped out twice.
That's great. I think so you're going to be the Gen Z favorite because these days, there are a lot of people dropping out because back then it was not, an appreciated concept. Still it isn't, of dropping out and being an entrepreneur, right?
Sure.
But these days I feel it's pretty common to see dropouts starting their entrepreneurial journey. Do you think, was it worth dropping out and being an entrepreneur?
Just to give you a little bit of a backstory, you guys are born in a fortunate era. Probably you're like post 2000 born, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So, where there are a lot of options in terms of education.
Yes.
And which is respected by your parents because your parents are either millennials or late baby boomers. So they understand even if you want to do like a course in photography, they're going to be okay with it. If you want to be a podcaster, they're going to be okay with it. If you want to be a chef, they're going to be okay with it. In my times, I mean, not that I'm a millennial, but in my times, it was still majorly engineering and doctor were like the only preferred professions by the parents, especially, and BMS, hotel management. I mean, hotel management had been there for a while, but BMS and all were like very new things. So, I obviously, post 12th standard, I wanted to do hotel management and event management. In fact, during my times, event management wasn't even a full-time course. Okay. It was a part-time course. And being an only child, when I went and, spoke to my parents about doing hotel management, I remember one of the sentences that my mom had said, "Kya bada hoke kya halwai banega kya?" So, now she's not there, she's not in the world. But I won't tell her that I'm sahi mein halwai ban gaya hu. Anyways, but so obviously, because of emotional blackmail, as I would call it, by my parents, I was, forced into doing engineering because, they obviously gave me a carrot of an XYZ thing I wanted if I would do engineering. So I chalu to kar diya. But then I was like, yeah, this is not going to work for me. And then I dropped out of engineering after a year. And then, obviously you have to do graduation. So by then I'd lost interest. Not lost interest in hotel management, but then I was like, chalo, BCom kar leta hu. Because my family business was financial services. So I did BCom and CFP. Okay. And then, but I eventually got back into food. So, yeah. And in fact, sometimes things are a blessing in disguise. Because had I done hotel management, I would have, because I wanted to do it, I would have done it properly, like I would have done it like a student college, go to college, attend classes. And with due respect to the Indian education system, but I think it needs a lot of changes, right? I'm sure there must have been a lot of changes that have come now. Yeah. But I don't think whatever we've studied in college or in school has really helped us in our, practical real life. So, in fact, because I was doing engineering, And because I had dropped out, and in fact, during that year, I remember, so I had actually started a tiffin service when I was studying in Nasik.
Oh, okay.
So interestingly, so that also accidentally happened. I mean, my North Indian friends, my Kashmiri friends used to keep telling me, that there's no great North Indian food here. So that stuck in my head. And then I was low on attendance, and I'd set the like those peons up, whatever, to get my attendance done. But apparently the vice principal of our college was very strict.
Okay.
And then I wanted to get into his good books. Otherwise I would have anyways, I mean, they would have asked me to, repeat the year, not only because of, like dropping out because of failing a few subjects, but also because of attendance. So I came to know that he had a hostel behind the college where he wanted to rent out the ground floor.
Okay.
And and the rent at that time was some $4,000 a month for that, whatever that hall that he wanted to rent out. I was like, chal, ye to kar sakte hai. Itna to I can manage from my pocket money. I took it. And then it so happened I took it on rent, and then I came to know that there were like 28 people staying in his hostel. Okay. And he wanted, whoever took that on rent, he wanted that person to run a canteen for those people.
Okay.
So then I was forcefully made to start a canteen for those 28 people, and then 7 Kashmiri friends of mine who started taking like dabbas from me. And in fact, that business grew to 600 dabbas a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, eventually. And then finally in my third year, like in my third year of BCom, I sold that business to a caterer in Nasik. So, I remember, in fact, I grew to a second kitchen on another road. And when I grew there, I think I was eating into the business of this one caterer. They're called Saptashringi caterers.
Okay.
So, one day he came to me and he's like, क्या करना है तुझे ये business के साथ? I was like, यार मैं तो मजे के लिए कर रहा हूँ college. पता नहीं. He's like, मुझे बेच दे, मैं तुझे 15 दिन का पैसा दूंगा. I was like, ठीक है. So back in 2008, he gave me 5,45,000 rupees for buying out that small business. So I mean, that was exit before I knew exit was a term. And as a 19-year-old kid, 5,45,000 rupees back in 2008 was like a lot of money. I was like, chalo, Goa, ye, wo. That's how it went in my head. Yeah, so that's how I actually started my first food business was an accidental food business. And then 2011 is when I officially got into entrepreneurship with Urban Spice.
Okay, so I also had this one doubt lingering in my head. That Urban Spice was also a B2B and so was Scandalous.
Sure.
Why did you choose B2B over a D2C? Because it's very hard to get into, right?
So, when I started Urban Spice, that time, businesses were called dhandas and not startups. Okay. Okay? So in fact, like I was telling you before we, broke out for a coffee, that Urban Spice also started out of a problem that I was facing. So I had, in fact, my parents also used to stay quite often in Nasik because they decided to make it like their retirement home. Okay. And I had then come back to do CFP in Mumbai in 2009. So I used to put up at Powai at my dad's house there. And I used to think that I could eat butter chicken every day of my life. And then after 6 months, I found myself ordering, like dal fry and jeera aloo from a restaurant nearby. And I obviously didn't want to, order, get those tiffins because I had run a tiffin service.
Yeah.
So I knew how tiffins are usually washed.
Okay.
And obviously, so I knew that, it's not washed in the most hygienic way. So obviously I used to order from a restaurant. And that's when it struck me that there is a requirement for homely meals in hygienic packaging. I mean, today it's a norm, right? Like today, wherever you order from, even from like a, like a roadside place, you'll probably get like a great packaging.
Yeah.
But back in 2011, that wasn't the case. You used to get very flimsy packaging and all of that from restaurants. And, I thought that there's like a great opportunity to create hygienic meals in a box for homely meals. And that's when Urban Spice was born in Feb 2011, I remember. And, I was like, chalo, cook hire karte. In fact, I used to stay alone in that house, right? So I hired a cook, I hired a delivery boy, and, I started like a meals in a box service. I was like, worst case nahi chala to bhi mere ko to at least, khana milega cook se acha. So In fact, I remember my dad didn't even know I started that. When he came after a month to Bombay, and he was like, like, what are you doing at my house with these guys? And I mean, like, he's like, I'm giving you 3 months, either start giving me rent or buzz off from my house. I was like, okay. And after 3 months, I luckily managed to take my own little kitchen space outside. I'll speak about that later. And yeah, in fact, fortunately at that time, Powai was becoming was touted as the Silicon Valley of India before it shifted to Bangalore. So fortunately, I started probably at the right time, and yeah, I mean, we grew to about 400 boxes a day, and then so happened that Credit Suisse was setting up shop at that time in Powai. When we started, there were like about 120 people, and out of which I think 78 people used to order our boxes on a daily basis.
Okay.
After 3 months, the admin guy called me and he's like, 3/4 of our company is eating your boxes. Why don't you take up cafeteria management?
Okay.
And so the B2B thing that you were asking me was again accidental. Because I started as a B2C company, meals in a box. And at that time, it wasn't Zomato, Swiggy. It wasn't a lot of Google. It used to be pamphleting and all of that. And yeah, so I mean, I got that opportunity to do cafeteria management, and I said, "Chalo, theek hai." So we started with taking up the canteen of the cafeteria of Credit Suisse. Fortunately, obviously, Credit Suisse was a credible name. So with Credit Suisse, then through Credit Suisse, then I got Wipro, I got NPCI, I got RBI, I got Vodafone, eBay, Aranka, all of that. We were doing pretty well there. In fact, the pilot of UPI has been done on our company, by the way. So when NPCI was a 65 people company operating out of RBI, we used to manage their canteen, and they had registered our company on their portal, and every day they used to transfer 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 3, whatever, And I used to wonder, like, what are they doing, man? And then, when UPI was launched, I think in 2015, I was like, damn, I was a part of a revolution. So anyway, so that was the thing. And then from there, we graduated to premium corporate catering solutions because, again, I saw a gap. So I realized that, while, like most caterers were doing the regular thali business in corporate setups, there was a huge dearth of people giving premium food within corporates for board meetings, sales meetings, trainings, etc. I realized that as a regular caterer, you cannot give premium food, and restaurants can give premium food, but they will not do a catering setup for 5 to 20 people. So I saw a huge gap there, and then we started doing that. We started doing premium catering for 5 to 40 people, which was majorly premium corporate catering solutions and even house parties. So that started doing phenomenally well. In fact, so because I'm speaking about this, so while I was doing this, I also became a co-founder at Hola Chef.
Okay.
Hola Chef at that time, like it had made a lot of noise. So my very close friend Saurabh, he founded Hola Chef and I co-founded with him. But then obviously Urban Spice was growing, so I came out of Hola Chef and I decided to continue with Urban Spice. In fact, Hola Chef had raised money from Ratan Tata and Kalari Capital and all of that. So Hola Chef was, getting, home meals from home chefs and delivering it to whoever was ordering it, right? So it was like a marketplace for home chefs to deliver food to customers. So that is what it was doing. And so while coming back to Urban Spice, I was, so from premium, while I was doing premium corporate catering, one client of mine, introduced me to doing food at an event. He had a stall at a CPHI exhibition.
Okay.
It's one of the largest exhibitions for pharma in Asia. And, when I was catering for his stall, I saw that there are like 15,000-20,000 people coming every day at this Nesco exhibition center. And I thought there was a huge opportunity to, create a brand here. There is captive audience. And I saw that there was only Domino's there. And all the others were like, like those Ramlal kind of caterers who, they'd put those shamianas and they were making food in like a very traditional or orthodox way and serving food there. And then I I started visiting Nesco regularly. I mean, I attended some paint exhibition. I didn't care what exhibition it was. I wanted to see how this works. And in every exhibition, I saw the same setup. That there was only Domino's and then there were these caterers. So I thought, यहाँ पे brand बन सकता है. And that's when, Urban Spice decided to get into OOH services, out of home services. So that is when you eat food outside your home and not at a restaurant. That's called out of home services. And, we did an Enchanted Valley Carnival at Ambi Valley. Then we did a sunburn. We did a cricket match. We did some exhibition. And then my turning point in my life came when I did a India-Sri Lanka match in Pune. And India got 100 all out in the first innings.
Okay.
And in the second innings, the stadium went empty. So, I had to throw 600 kilos of rice that day. And I realized that, we have to be ready for such black swan events also. And that's when I, went to Mysore. I learned food backending because Mysore is apparently the mecca of food technology. Spent a couple of weeks at CFTA there. Got in touch with some professors. And I came back with the idea that blast freezing would be the best way to backend your food if you're in the ready to assemble or ready to eat space. We backended a Desi Chinese line, and that's when 2016 to 2019, Urban Spice, saw like a hockey stick growth. We did more than 2,200 events across 14 cities in India, sold more than 3.5 crore meals. And in 2018, I did a lot of B2B work with Foodpanda and Uber Eats. Okay. And that's when I started getting excited with the cloud kitchen side of the world, the food service side of the world. And I thought I'd learned enough in the last 9 years to now build something more scalable. And Urban Spice was obviously, like you rightly said, like a glorified catering company, a B2B or B2B2C company. And that's when I decided to sell Urban Spice. Fortunately, there was a large curator based out of Noida who was wanting to buy us out. So we sold to them. And I mean, accidentally, I entered the pandemic without the pressure of a company. So that was just, again, accidentally good timing. And that's when, in fact, during the pandemic, I then decided to, I started a cloud kitchen brand along with a celebrity chef, that chef Harpal Singh Sogi, that Namak Shamak guy. So with him, we opened 11 kitchens across Mumbai and Nasik and ran them for a year. And then, somewhere I realized that maybe I would rather, I'm not meant to, be a woodcutter. I would rather be the guy making access and supplying to these woodcutters. So I realized that, maybe I have a very B2B mindset. And that's when, again, I wanted to get back into, the B2B side of the world. So I did a B2C stint in between. Then I realized, so when I was doing the cloud kitchen business, I saw that the consumerism was growing like there was no tomorrow. I saw people eating out or ordering in like I'd not seen in the last 10 years. And I saw that this growth in the food service will be led by, organized players like the Wow Momo and the Rebel Foods of the world versus like a Suksagar or a, whatever, Shanti Priya restaurant. So I thought that, if these guys have to grow, food processing will grow in India too. Global chains have grown across the globe like McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, etc. because there were like great commissaries and food factories in the US, which, were giving them ready to eat food, which they had to just assemble at their restaurants, right? And that's what they replicated across countries, and that's how they scaled. And I realized that now India will also follow this path. And that's when I said, ki chalo, food factory dalte. And that's how I, started thinking about Scandalous Foods. Okay. And that's where I saw that, probably, and while everybody thinks ke brand to B2C mein banta hai, aisa nahi hai. I mean, B2B mein bhi brand banta hai. While all of us call it B2B, I call it H2H. It's human to human. It's not business to business. It's not Scandalous Foods talking with the Zepto or Scandalous Foods talking with the Rebel. It's Sanket talking with someone, or, Ritesh talking with someone, or, someone, Sagar talking with someone. It's like that, right? So, where there is human to human interaction, there is an opportunity to create a brand. There are some Fortune 500 companies which are B2B in nature, but within their industry, they are very well-known brands. And that's what we aspire to do with Scandalous Foods.
That's great. I got to learn this, and I love the term that you used H2H.
Yeah.
So that's great. Because I feel we as Gen Zs are too acquainted to a certain content where even when I listen to podcasts, because I prefer listening to podcasts over reading books.
Sure.
So we're always told that B2B is harder to get in. Like, for example, the other day I was watching the founder of Weba's interview, and he said that B2B is very difficult to get in, it's difficult to crack. So I had that thought, because he used to visit Domino's like 5 times a week. So
Sure.
I had that thought in my mind that, it's really hard to, but I think you were the king of it. So you have the experience of, really playing in that area.
So, well, I mean, of course, I agree with what Viraj said, that, it's tough to crack B2B, but so it is to crack D2C as well, right?
Definitely.
I mean, when you're creating a D2C business, okay, I mean, you can list on Amazon, Flipkart, Zepto, Blinkit, Instamart, and start shop on day 0 from a warehouse. But then, I mean, to reach 10 people, or to reach 100 people, and to reach 1,000 people, you need to do a lot of promotional marketing and create a brand, create that brand presence and all of that, right? So even that is not easy. So I mean, it's very simple. If it's easy, you're not going to scale. I mean, only when it is difficult to do that business, it's going to be. I mean, that is when a lot of people are not going to enter your stream of business. I mean, when we were doing when I started SCANDALous Foods, and obviously, we are a VC funded company. So during my first round, a lot of investors were like, "Yaar, Mithai mein moat kya hai?" I was like, the moat is not in the product. The moat is in the distribution network. The moat is in, sometimes it's good to be in boring businesses. I mean, a lot of young startups today will not even want to get into the business of mithais, because it is not easy to, standardize and scale a mithai business.
Definitely.
So sometimes even that becomes a moat.
Mm-hmm.
And in most FMCG businesses, I mean, of course, you need to have a good product, but you need to have a great distribution network, right? I mean, look at why HUL is HUL, because they are, I don't know, some 3 crore touch points through their distributors, CNFs, retailers, etc. And that's the reason why. Imagine like just selling one Lux soap across these 3 crore touch points. I mean, you're going to be selling 3 crore soaps a day. So that's the power of distribution network.
Okay. Speaking of distribution, SCANDALous has been like a part of Zepto Café right now. So this is like a very intriguing topic for us. Like, how exactly Zepto Café works? Like, what if you had like, if you think of this as a 16-year-old's point of view, how do you deliver mithais? Example, what if the rasmalai spills? In 10 minutes, you're going to deliver this, right? So how are you, having such fast delivery? And I know that you were at several touch points, I guess 2,000 plus.
Correct.
But how are you exactly maintaining that authenticity, that speed? Because everybody, I feel, wants everything in a, like everybody wants everything in a snap right now.
Sure.
How do you do that?
So I think, I obviously, there's a lot of things being said about Q-commerce and, what they must be doing, etc. Is because people have not deep dived into what's happening at the back end, right? Like, so, when things seem simple on the forefront, it's usually, there is a lot of complex mechanisms that have been applied in the back end to make it look very simple for you in the front. Like, when you order your cappuccino, you get it within 7 minutes from a Zepto Café.
Yeah.
For that, they've done like a lot of work at the back end. Now, think about it. Like, let's take rasmalai as an example that we supply to Zepto Café. We are experts at making a rasmalai. We make it out of a factory in Nasik. There is someone who is an expert at processing milk. They supply milk to us. We process the milk and, whatever, we convert it into a rasmalai. We package it into those cups and we deliver it to various warehouses of Zepto Café across 6 cities.
Okay.
Right? So that is where our job ends. Our job ends at their Bombay warehouse, at their Bangalore warehouse, at their Delhi warehouse, at their Hyderabad warehouse, at their Pune warehouse, and at their Chennai warehouse. Now from there, Zepto's logistics team takes over. From their warehouses, they supply it intracity to every store of theirs in that city. Like a certain amount as per forecast is stored within their stores, in their, their stores are within those grocery warehouses of theirs. And so every food that they store there is either ready to eat or ready to assemble. So there is not much difference between what Zepto does, how Zepto procures food and how a McDonald's procures food, right? McDonald's also for the last 50 years has been procuring frozen patties, frozen buns, frozen lettuce, and mayo of Viva, etc. And what they do there is they assemble the burger within in less than a minute or maybe a minute and a half, and just give it to you, right? Zepto does the same thing with every product, be it a coffee. So for coffee, there's obviously those machines that they've put. For things like rasmalai, they buy a frozen rasmalai and they just microwave it and give it to someone. If they are selling a biryani, they buy a frozen biryani, they do it. The difference between a Zepto cafe, so Zepto cafe is just it's a cloud kitchen delivering in 10 minutes. It's not like, it's not like a Q-commerce grocery store. The Zepto cafe is a part of Zepto, which is a cloud kitchen. Now, the difference between, let's say, a Zepto cafe and any other restaurant is that these guys they work on razor sharp logistic network, like a razor sharp operations network, right? So let's say if you're ordering from another restaurant, let's say, I don't know, like a Bhagat Tarachand here. So when you place an order with Bhagat Tarachand, the Zomato guy is sitting at some hub. He will take about 7 minutes to reach Bhagat Tarachand and then another 10 minutes to reach your house, because Zomato allows Bhagat Tarachand to accept orders within a 7-kilometer radius. What Zepto does is it only accepts orders within a 1.5-kilometer radius. So they have shortened the radius, plus their delivery boys are standing right outside their warehouse, their store. So that 7 minutes is saved, and if they're delivering within a 1.5-kilometer radius, no matter how much ever traffic is there, on a bike, you're going to reach within 4-5 minutes. So their whole delivery time is not more than 5 minutes. Their assembling or processing of food time is not more than 2 minutes. And that's how they mostly manage to deliver within 10 minutes.
Oh, lovely.
So that is how they do it. So they worked on amazing logistic network. They've not reinvented the wheel with the way they're procuring food. They've reinvented the wheel with the logistics network.
Okay, that's genius.
Yeah.
And plus, you also provide like a 6-month shelf life, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome. And one more thing that is there in my mind, and that is that Scandalous is a very bold name for a Mithai brand.
Yeah.
So what's the story behind it?
We were starting Scandalous Foods. We knew that we're going to start as a B2B company, and initially we obviously wanted to work with more institutional clients, while you mentioned Zepto Cafe, we also work with Rebel Foods, Wow Momo, Eat Fit, ITC Cloud Kitchens, Chakul Eats, House of Biryani, etc., etc. So when I was thinking of a name with my my branding guy, I was like, the name should ideally be a conversation starter, icebreaker. And of course, and then it needs to have a meaning. It just can't be quirky and not mean anything.
Yeah. So
Scandalous, by the way, is an abbreviation for the problems our food service industry faces. And it also stands for Why Us. So Scandalous is standardization, convenience, affordability, nil wastage, dependence on skilled labor, accessibility, lightning fast, delicious delicacies. So that's how Scandalous stands. So of course, we first made the name Scandalous and then we gave it a full form, of course. And then, it actually has been a conversation starter at most places, wherever I've been. Everybody's like, yeah, Scandalous naam kyun rakha hai? And they'll be like, yeah, kuch to aise hi naam rakh diya. And then, when you end up saying the whole meaning of it, and then, it's like, like an naam.
That's absolute genius, by the way. And I also wanted to ask you that, do you feel Indian mithai is being boxed as festive only?
Absolutely. So you're bang on there. So, so the whole thesis to get into the mithai space. So, when we thought of getting into B2B again, obviously, there are probably 1,000 products that we eat in India, starting from dal makhani, biryani to pastas to pizzas, and everything can be back-ended, right? So, in fact, when we started, we already had, like a whole repository of products because we'd made them for our own cloud kitchen brand. So I was wondering I didn't want to be a generalist, right? I didn't want to, I remember, again, my learnings back from Urban Spice was, so initially when I started this events business, I used to do pav bhaji, I used to do Chinese, I used to do this. Then one day, this one guy came and told me that what is Urban Spice known for? Is it known for its pav bhaji? Is it known for its Chinese? Is it known for this? Right now, I don't know what to call you to an event. And that stayed with me. And then that's when I, removed everything else and I stuck to Desi Chinese. And that's where, in any event, if it was Desi Chinese, it was Urban Spice. That's how we used to, operate at back then. And so that stuck with me. I want to be a specialist and not a generalist. So, we initially, we realized that, we'll concentrate on side of the plate products. So, side of the plate categories. So, let's say if I take Behroz Biryani as an example, biryani is the center of the plate. Categories like tikkas, kebabs, sweets, desserts, beverages are side of the plate categories. So now from a restaurant POV, side of the plate categories add to about 3 to 4% of the top line each, but they add much more to the bottom line. So, it's more profitable for a restaurant to sell the fries than the burger. It's more profitable for a restaurant to sell the iced tea than the pizza. So we realized that these are things that they will not manufacture on their own. But if it's available with a shelf life, if in a standardized format, they will definitely buy it because it'll add to their average order value, right? Yeah. So we realized that, side of the plate makes sense. Now, in that also, we wanted to obviously concentrate on one category. And that's when I realized that India mein, खाने के बाद कुछ मीठा मिल जाता तो is a huge opportunity. I'm sure you must have seen your grandfather, you must have seen your father, you must have seen it with yourself, with your friends. Let's end the meal with a dessert. Like, if you go out to a cafe, you will end up buying that tiramisu, or you will end up buying that brownie, or you will end up buying that ice cream, or you will end up buying that Gulab Jamun or something. Yeah. So I realized that this is a huge opportunity. And I realized when I deep dived into it, I saw that ice creams were doing a great job there. In fact, 50% of the sale of ice creams in India is impulse purchase, right? Okay. Now, impulse purchase happens at certain moments of consumption. And that moment of consumption, usually for desserts, is post-meal, right? So, and I realized that Mithais was a complete white space here. Interestingly, India eats 17 Mithais for every ice cream eaten in India. All right? Okay. And all of the Mithais are sold during celebrations and occasions, like you rightly said. And that is because I realized the difference was because of the construct. Now, it's not that ice cream is usually yours and my first choice of dessert, but it's usually the preferred choice of dessert for the restaurants and the distributors to buy because it's available with a 12-month shelf life, it's available in convenient packaging, cups, cones, tubs, bars, and hence it's easy for restaurants to buy them and store them, and hence it's usually the only thing available on their menu, right? Now with Mithais, it's exactly the opposite. Mithais are usually not available with a shelf life, Mithais are usually not available in convenient packaging. And it's our pin code heroes, like the Tiwari Sweets of the world who sell these mithais. And of course, they're all doing a fab job. They're doing really well for themselves. But they don't want to usually scale beyond pin code. Some scaled at a city level and a rare Haldiram scale who scaled globally or whatever, right? And again, all targeting planned purchases, celebrations and occasions. So we said that, if we could get the mithais on an ice cream playbook, we could be sitting on a gold mine. And nobody had looked at the restaurant industry as a channel to sell sweets to an impulse buyer. Okay. So that's what we did. So we are not product creators. Of course, Rasmalai has been there for probably decades or maybe even centuries. We are channel creators. Nobody was selling mithais through a restaurant. That's what we started doing. And that's when SCANDALous Foods was born in the August month of 2022.
Oh, that's great. But don't you think as the coming generation, usually the people who are on Zepto especially, the frequent purchasers are a very young generation, right? So they would choose a Gulab Jamun over, I don't know, they would rather go for a Kunafa than a Gulab Jamun. So sure. How do you, fill up that gap?
Yeah, interesting point. So, I'll tell you. So, my parents and probably Vishal's parents may not be very active on a Zomato, Swiggy or a Zepto, but Vishal and I are, and so are you.
Yeah.
Now, I assume that Vishal and I have a little higher purchasing power than you have.
Yeah.
Right? And now India, and imagine now the amount of yields that India will get. we're probably in the 35 to 45 range in age. So you olds are 60-year-olds. Now, when we become 60, we are not going to change our habits, right? So we are going to continue eating rasmalai, we are going to continue eating gulab jamun, we are going to continue eating gajar halwa, right? And I think, so for the next 20, 30 years, there's going to be no dearth of these requirements. And the Gen Zs, that's you guys, are not eating a rasmalai because, I keep telling everybody that, yaar, हमने Indian खाने को ना glamorous नहीं बनाया है. Like the pizzas have come from outside and, taken over our plates. The kunafas have come from outside and taken over our plates. In fact, baklavas have taken over the world. So why can't rasmalais take over the world?
Definitely.
Like I remember, I was sitting with this Australian guys. In fact, he was the ex-global president of McDonald's.
Okay.
Fortunately, I happened to know him, so one day I wanted him to try our products. And, first they were like very hesitant to try Indian desserts. So I remember that lady with him, she reluctantly had one spoon of gajar halwa and then she ended up finishing that because our portion sizes are single serves, right? Like they're all 95 grams. And while I was talking with Peter, I saw that Michelle had finished the gajar halwa. She was like, what is this? Is this some vegan carrot cake? And then it struck me that, if I have to take this gajar halwa to Australia, I should take it as a carrot cake. Like, no, do not take it in a container. Get it in a round cake shape and sell it as a carrot cake. We call this rasmalai here. Why can't we call it like some cheese, like cheesecake in milk or, some other name? I mean, I was telling, one mentor of mine the other day, हम इंडिया में वो हमको ही इज्जत नहीं है, हम उसको बोलते हैं फूल गोभी, पत्ता गोभी, और वो खाने का इंटरेस्ट नहीं रहता है. US sells more cauliflower than us. I mean, as like a vegan pizza and all of that. So if we start making our food glamorous, even you guys will start eating it. So we'd actually come out with a rasmalai tiramisu. We'd come with a gulab jamun cheesecake. We did all of those things. But as of now, because, we're still in our first couple of years of our journey, we said like, let's first sell the classics. Then we'll go to the fusions. And also, India, I realize that India, in terms of food, Indians talk newness, but consume familiarity. So I know that eventually the rasmalai tiramisu will get me the Instagram, tags, but people will consume the rasmalais. I mean, I will sell 9 rasmalais and 1 rasmalai tiramisu. That's how it will usually work.
Yeah. That was just on a very general base. I love rasmalais, okay. So I'm too biased towards rasmalais. Yeah. But okay. And I also wanted to ask you this one thing. Do you personally have you ever read a review about, about Scandalous Foods that, was very savage or maybe, touched your heart? Something like that. Something memorable. So
the thing is that right now, because we're a B2B company and because, we white label for these guys, of course, we have to just be happy with reading the reviews of, because for you, it's a Zepto Café rasmalai.
Yeah.
Or for you, it's a Behro's Biryani rasmalai. Or for you, it's a Chakuleets rasmalai. So you're obviously going to go and review Chakuleets or Zepto. But of course, we regularly track our ratings on their, like on a Zomato and Swiggy or a Zepto Café app. In fact, we saw that there was this, some blogger who reviewed some 40 products of Zepto Café. And in that, he rated our rasmalai 9 on 10, our moong dal halwa, in fact, our rasmalai was 10 on 10, our shahi tukda was 10 on 10, and our moong dal halwa was 8 on 10. So yeah, we were very happy. And where he was brutal, he rated some products 3 and 4 also.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to ask you that how exactly does Scandalous help distribute Zepto Café's sweets?
So basically, so think about it as a buying house in the textile industry, right? Like, Zara is a huge brand, right? Zara doesn't manufacture their own clothes. They don't stitch their own clothes. They have some 384 tailors back wherever, and they make those clothes for them. Of course, now they've replicated that across countries. Similar with IKEA, similar with McDonald's, similar with Domino's. Same is Zepto Café. Zepto Café is a huge brand. They have reached to you, Abhishek, Vishal, me, right? So they have done the hard work of being a brand in all our minds and all on our fingertips. We are their back-end supplier. We work on the background behind the curtains, and and we manufacture the rasmalais for them, package it in the single serve. So the cup in which you will get it, it's packed at our factory and it's given to them.
Okay.
So it's white labeled as Zepto Café rasmalai, and that's how it comes. So that's what we do for them. So we ensure that whether you eat the rasmalai in Jan or you eat it in September, it's going to taste the same. It's standardized. It's exactly how it was when you ate it like 8 months ago, and we supply it to them and they sell it under the brand. And that's what every other company does.
Yeah.
I mean, in our setup today, Abhishek is as or more important than you and I are, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So Abhishek is Scandalous and we are Zepto in today's
Love it.
setup.
And by the way, preservative free. 6 months
Yeah.
shelf life and preservative. Do you think Gen Zs expect a lot, like from brands, like sustainability, speed, and everything?
So I think it's not Gen Zs. I think it's just that, I think in the last 3-4 years, the number of brands that have cropped up, especially in the mass premium space, I think they've spoiled all of us for choice, right? So while we keep harping on the fact that India has 140 crore people, India actually has just 11 crore people who can spend money, right? Out of which there are 2.5 crore people who have very high spending power. Now, most of the people are building these brands for just 2.5 crore people. So I keep telling everyone, why are we? I mean, like one friend of mine I remember was telling me, brand banana hai na to you should party with the classes and sell to the masses, and that stuck with me. I don't need to make a product for us, right? I can make a product. I mean, a product which is targeting even the middle class and like the upper middle class, whatever. So I think that's the reason why we are all spoiled. It's not that only the Gen Z is spoiled for choice. I think even we are all very spoiled for choice. I mean, every clothing brand is targeting us. Every food brand is targeting us. Every cosmetic brand is targeting us. Every beauty brand is targeting us. Every wellness brand is targeting us. So, now our expectation is 11 on 10, not even 10 on 10. I mean, and we order, we don't like it, there's no questions asked, there's a returns policy. So that is why we are all spoiled for choice. It's not that, just don't think that you're the only guys. You guys must be a little more spoiled for choice, but
Yeah.
we all are spoiled for choice.
Definitely.
Because they're all targeting just these 2.5-3 crore people. So, in fact, if Scandalous ever goes B2C, we would want to create a brand which is aspirational for the middle class. I would want to target people beyond these 2.5 crore people. So up to 30 crore people can also spend money, but slightly less than what we would spend, right? So I would ideally want to target those kind of people. If I had to create a B2C brand in Mithais, I would create a Monjinies of Mithais.
Got
Is
it.
I would say.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So while I'm sure a lot of us may not be ordering from Monjinies as of today, but still Monjinies must be doing way more business than probably Theo Broma.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think the raising crores is very fancy to hear. Okay.
Yeah.
What is that one thing that you were like a bang on in front of your investors? The one thing the Scandalous had.
I think our lead investor in our last round asked us, what is your vision? We were like, we want to become the biggest mithai wala in the unplanned purchase space of mithais. So, of course, fortunately I came with a background of food, right? So I came with some experience. So that is important for investors that, there is a founder which has some, he knows his shit. Then it's also important as a founder, it's more important to summarize your company in one sentence than in 5 paras. In 5 paras, I'll be able to explain the whole year to you. But can you summarize your year 2024 in one sentence? That is when it shows that you have clarity of your vision or what you did or whatever. So, biggest mithai wala in the unplanned purchase of mithais. Our competition is not Tiwari Sweets. Our competition is not Haldiram's. In fact, our competition is ice creams in the Horeca space. Our competition is brownies in the Horeca space. So that probably stuck with them that, we're targeting that post-meal impulse purchase of sweets.
Got it.
And then, of course, you also we were showing month-on-month growth, we were
Mhm.
showing quarter-on-quarter growth. So those kind of things add up to for an investor story.
Lovely.
I think that's how it works.
I mean, you've had an experience of a decade and a half in the
Yeah.
food industry. What is that one thing that you can tell your 19-year-old self that this mistake you do not have to do it?
So I think, I don't know about other sectors. I'm sure like all other sectors must be doing the same thing. But I think as food entrepreneurs, we need to take a crash course on finance for entrepreneurs.
Okay.
I think what all of us neglect as startups is we neglect cash flows, we neglect understanding balance sheets, and because we think यार ये तो हमारा CA कर लेगा, ये तो हमारा CS कर लेगा, हम product बनाएंगे, हम बेचेंगे. But I mean, like they say, I think someone had said that top line is vanity, bottom line is sanity, but cash flow is the kingdom.
Mhm.
So, top line is the prince, bottom line is the king, and cash flow is the kingdom. So, without a kingdom, there is no king and prince. So, I think that is one thing. If I had to tell my 19-year-old self, I would say concentrate on cash flows.
Okay, lovely.
Just like running behind the numbers कि आज मैंने 2 करोड़ का धंधा किया, 5 करोड़ का किया, 25 करोड़ का किया, is all vanity.
Lovely. And what if like I come up to you and I ask you that you just tell me this one key mistake that you made in your life being an entrepreneur, and how, like, give me a solution how I can learn from it as a 16-year-old
That will be 75% of my life. I mean, every entrepreneur, 75% of his life is mistakes, and 25% of his life is just not repeating those mistakes. If in that 25% you can stop repeating your mistakes, you'll become a successful entrepreneur. That is how entrepreneurship is. So it's more important for you to not know what to do. I mean, to know what not to do than to know what to do. I mean, what to do, you'll keep learning on the go.
So you always had this entrepreneur mindset, or there were times where you're like, nahi karna hai, bas. What am I doing at this point?
No, I mean, not in the last. So, I mean, that used to happen. I mean, obviously, when I started Urban Spice in 2011, I was 23 years old. And, fortunately, like within 14 months, we were doing very well. And at the age of 24, you have all the energy to party till like 5 a.m. and then, go to your kitchen at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Millennials could do it. I don't know about Gen Zs. But so obviously, at that time, like this whole, because of cash flow, there were like a lot of times where despite the top line, we would go wrong with we didn't have systems in place, we didn't have processes in place. So we would not have a very healthy bottom line. बहुत टाइम होता था यार क्या कर रहा हूँ, मतलब क्यों, मतलब वो कोई तो एडमिन वाले की सुनो, तुम्हारा किचन का कुक का सुनो कि यार मैं आज नहीं आऊँगा, all that nonsense. And some, there were many times I would feel कि यार नहीं करना. But then there was this one time in 2017, because by then we were like largely an food at events company. So post demonetization, because at that point of time events used to be largely cash businesses. So there were a couple of quarters which had seen like a lot of strain because of the demonetization, that post demonetization effects. And there were these 2 quarters where we were like very low on work, and obviously, and you still need to run the whole mechanism, right, even without the cash coming in. And at that time, and then suddenly like again, like a lot of work started happening. We took to B2B, Food Panda ka kaam liya, Uber Eats ka kaam liya, and all of that. And then suddenly, like like from here we'd come here, and then from here we didn't go here, we went like there, like
Okay.
So when I was here, and then when we started seeing this, I was like, yaar, whenever I feel like कि मैं क्यों कर रहा हूँ, I remember this day, and then I'm like, यार, never ever say कि नहीं करना है, because you never know. I mean, like जब काम नहीं होता ना, or like when you're like going through like a down, that is, I mean, that's like a really depressing feeling, or like a really sad feeling. And then you rather, like they say, you rather cry in a Beamer than be happy on the road, right? So I would rather be stressed with work than be stressed without work.
Definitely.
So I never like would prefer to say कि यार बस हो गया नहीं करना है.
And would you recommend if a 17-year-old came up to you and said that I want to drop out
Mhm.
and I want to be an entrepreneur? What would you say?
I didn't drop out because I thought that dropping out was cool. I mean, it was obviously not cool. I mean, and especially back in like 2005-06, so I was hounded by my relatives had written me off. My parents had probably didn't see it on my face, but they had also written me off. My friends also had written me off. Ki kya aadmi hai, like. So, these days, obviously, it's still very cool, right? Because, you can drop out of college and you still know that there is a lot of things that you could do. You could become a content creator and you could become a millionaire, or you could become, whatever, and you could become a choreographer and become a millionaire. So now there are a lot of options. Do you have a very strong reason to drop out? Then that is when you should drop out, right? Like, why would you drop out just because, like, चलो कुछ तो मैं तूफानी करूंगा या करूंगी. Like, that can't be like your badge of honor on your CV, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because I feel everybody these days, I'll tell you, this very fancy thing that I'm a founder of something. Everybody wants to put it on their LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why I thought that would you recommend it to like a 17-year-old that ठीक है, कर लो drop out?
See, there's nothing wrong in starting up at 17. It's just that I think, now a lot of people are starting up, like you rightly said, for like, all the wrong reasons. Because, they obviously, go and read in your story or, wherever, okay, this Bhavesh Agarwal raised some $3 billion or Zepto raised some $5 billion or whatever. And everybody thinks, like, let's start up because we can go and raise VC money.
Definitely.
So you can't be starting up for the wrong reasons. You need to start up if you think that the product or the service that you're going to be selling, there is an opportunity to actually sell it. There's an opportunity to scale with it. And you can even do a lifestyle business. There's nothing wrong in doing a lifestyle business. It's like the most amazing thing to do. But then you need to have that clarity that, अगर lifestyle business करना है तो lifestyle business की तरह करो. Then it needs to have high margins. If you're thinking of building something at scale, then it could have low margins. But then you need to be very sure that this will have high volumes. Do you know your... until like 3-4 years ago, now still people have got some clarity. Everyone I used to meet, they used to be like, यार इंडिया में 140 करोड़ लोग हैं, हम ये प्रोडक्ट बनाएंगे, 140 करोड़ लोगों को बेचेंगे. How will you sell to 140 crore people? Like, probably 50-60 crore people in India are below poverty line. वो तो पाली जी भी नहीं खरीद सकते. So, like that clarity you need to have when you're starting up as an entrepreneur. And yeah, like I said, like start with all the right reasons. Nobody wants to do farming these days because, the media has a huge role to play, right? Because, all the media shows is that all the farmers are committing suicide, so it feels like whoever is a farmer is committing suicide. There are farmers who are rich AF, right?
Yeah.
So, why don't they show them? Like, why don't, like, India is a very agricultural country and there can be a lot that could be done with agriculture and they don't promote farming. And everybody wants to become a startup today is also a lot to do with the media. Of course, modern media like your story in 42 and all. Because they show all of us startups as so cool. So all of us want to do a startup. But they also need to show the struggles that a startup faces. Because so that, everyone becoming a startup needs to have that clarity. Okay, you will see, like, you will see a lot of downs, then you will see ups. With ups, you will see downs again, then you will see an up. So you need to be very perseverant. So I think that, needs to go out in the market. Like, some of my farmer friends are like, they're like, probably like billionaires.
Yeah.
They could like buy us out like 10 times over. And nobody talks about them.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that media has a very prominent role because I'll tell you, Nikhil Kamath rightly said once that, the boring industry is the industries where there are gold mines. Because
Exactly.
everybody's too much into, I'll be honest, everybody's too much right now into fashion clothing industry.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to get into, the beauty industry.
Yeah.
Every alternate content creator is making their own clothing brand.
Yeah.
Or they're making their own beauty brand. Because everything is just so content based right now. There's one more guy, I forgot, he's a founder. He grows avocados and he started making content out of it.
Okay.
And that's how people got acquainted, but he's not that famous. Why? Because we as an audience are really not taking in good content. And that
Yeah.
was also one of the reasons why I started this podcast, because I feel we as Gen Z are actually taking shit content. To be honest, we're consuming really bad content.
I agree.
We
I mean,
are.
and not only Gen Zs, even us millennials, we
Yeah.
also taking shit content. Earlier, people used to say, "Kaam kar and fal ka mat soch and logo ko mat bata," that kind of
Yeah,
thing. But these days, I mean, it's I think important to brag, and it's important to be out there because because now there are so many others like you in the market. So till you do not go and talk about yourself and till you do not show faith in your own brand, whether it is B2B or B2C, people are not going to trust buying from you, right? So yeah, of course, it is important for sure.
That's lovely. And where can we find you?
So, we're a B2B company. So we usually go out and find our clients right now rather than they finding us in the institutional space. But of course, you can find us on scandalousfoods.in. And as a founder, I am reasonably active on LinkedIn. I go by the name Sanket S on LinkedIn. So you can find me there as well. And I will be very happy to answer you on LinkedIn or through my website.
Thank you everybody for watching the first episode of the Boardroom Brew with Bansari. I hope you all liked it. So please make sure to like, share and subscribe for more such content. Thank you.